She was once the woman Charles dared to risk the crown for. She was once the forbidden love he clung to, the one who stood by him through the darkest years when all of Britain turned its back on their affair. But now Camilla is left with a bitter silence, watching as Charles, the man who once fought the world for her, chooses someone else to carry the weight of power. Catherine. Not a rival, not an ally. Just two women who coexisted under the same royal roof, each holding her distance, her role. Until the day Charles changed everything. The sting of betrayal lingers in Camilla's eyes, where pride and loneliness meet like a dying flame flickering in the cold wind. Charles, burdened by the weight of his crown and failing health, looks to Catherine with unwavering trust, as though she were the only torch capable of guiding the monarchy into the future. And Catherine, with sharp eyes and a restrained smile, knows that this invisible crown is no mere honor. It is a path lined with thorns, where every decision could shake the palace to its core. Catherine now becomes the new symbol, trusted, chosen, presented to the public as the one destined to lead the royal legacy forward. Camilla understands this is not simply a shift in duties. It is the end of her influence in the monarchy. Will she accept being replaced in silence? Or will Catherine prove she is the one leader who cannot be replaced? Ottawa, Canada. January 2025 is gripped by the bone-chilling frost of a North American winter. Snow falls thick, blanketing the roads to the Parliament buildings, a Gothic masterpiece that has witnessed the turning tides of history. Tonight, crystal chandeliers cast golden light across stone walls, crafting a scene both regal and warm. The Commonwealth Summit on Cooperation and Sustainable Development, a gathering of leaders from 56 nations to tackle climate change, education and equality, commands the world's attention. For the British monarchy, it's more than a chance to champion Commonwealth values. It's a stage to reaffirm their symbolic power in a fractured alliance facing political and social cracks. The royal jet lands in biting winds, carrying King Charles III, Queen Camilla, and Princess Catherine. As they step onto the tarmac, their breaths form white clouds in the sub-zero air. Charles, in a navy suit with a gleaming royal crest, exudes calm, though his eyes betray a restless weight. Camilla, draped in a silver-gray fur coat, offers a strained smile to the welcoming officials, her hands clasped tightly as if to cage her emotions. Catherine, elegant in a sapphire blue coat, moves with quiet confidence, her keen eyes scanning the scene. Billed as a journey of reconciliation and empathy, this tour carries the weight of soothing criticisms about the monarchy's detachment from member nations, especially after years of scandals and debates over Camilla's role. Outside the Parliament buildings, a crowd braves the cold, waving British and Canadian flags, chanting Catherine's name. Canadians who adored her from past visits see her as a beacon of modernity and warmth. Camilla, no stranger to public indifference, feels a pang as the cheers for Catherine echo. Charles, sensing the tension, rests a hand on his wife's shoulder, but the gesture feels hollow. Inside the main hall, the air is heavy with formality. Hundreds of dignitaries, from Canada's Prime Minister to provincial governors, sit in crisp attire. International journalists, armed with cameras and pens, are poised to capture every moment. Invited guests, mostly community influencers, listen intently. Charles ascends the podium, his slow, commanding presence amplified by the chandelier's glow, highlighting a king weathered by 7 decades of triumphs and trials. In a world of upheaval, where trust frays easily, he begins his gaze, sweeping the room, lingering briefly on Catherine, then Camilla. The hall falls silent, his voice resonating as if the world holds its breath. We need leaders who guide not just with titles, but with heart, wisdom, and vision for tomorrow. I, as king, will steer the monarchy and commonwealth with the duty the crown demands. But my health, like anyone's, is not eternal. To safeguard our legacy, I need someone to share the burden, a leader with devotion, poise, and a bridge to the next generation. He pauses, his eyes locking onto Catherine, who stands still in a cream silk dress, hands clasped. Today I declare that Princess Catherine, who has served tirelessly, embodying hope and proving her mettle against the harshest public scrutiny, will take on the role of shaping and coordinating royal duties. She does not replace me, but stands as the guide behind the throne, ensuring our actions reflect a modern, empathetic, united monarchy. I choose Catherine not just as William's wife, but as the only one in this palace who blends a mother's compassion, a leader's sharpness, and the resolve of someone who never bends to adversity. A heartbeat of silence. Then the hall erupts in thunderous applause. Dignitaries rise, clapping relentlessly. Journalists scribble furiously, cameras panning to Catherine. She stands, head slightly bowed, lips pressed in a thin line. No one can pierce the thoughts behind her serene gaze. But in the front row, Camilla sits frozen, her face pale as wax. Her hands resting on her lap clench until her knuckles whiten. Her eyes, usually sharp and confident, shimmer with hurt and confusion. She searches Charles for a sign, a glance to explain, but he stares ahead as if oblivious to her presence. Catherine steals a fleeting glance at Camilla, just enough to sense the storm raging within the queen. She says nothing, turning back to the applauding crowd. In that moment, like a vow etched in ice, a silent war begins, one without gunfire, but no less fierce within the palace walls. The Fairmont Chateau Laurier, Ottawa's historic gem, becomes the royal family's temporary refuge after the earth-shaking speech. Marble corridors, antique portraits, and soft wall sconces fail to ease the tension. Camilla, in a deep green silk dress, strides into her private suite on the top floor with icy resolve. The heavy oak door slams shut, its echo a declaration of war. Inside, the lavish room boasts a crackling fireplace and crimson velvet drapes, but the air is as cold as Camilla's mood. She stands by a vast window gazing at snow-draped Ottawa, where streetlights twinkle like lost stars. Her private secretary, Margaret, a middle-aged woman with neatly tied hair and a nervous demeanor, enters clutching an iPad displaying the latest news on Charles's speech. "Your Majesty," Margaret stammers, voice trembling. "I thought you'd seen the speech draft." Camilla spins around, hands shaking as they grip the walnut desk's edge. Her eyes blaze as if the fireplace's flames have leaped into her stare. "I did," she snaps, each word carved from deep within, "and Charles approved it. I read every line, every word, and thought I understood his intent. But I can't believe it. The man I've loved for over 40 years, for whom I sacrificed everything, honor, pride, my entire world to stand beside, has dared to strip away all we built together." Margaret stands mute, afraid to speak. Camilla marches to a black leather suitcase on the bed, snapping it open with a sharp flick. She pulls out a folder, the speech draft lines meticulously underlined in red ink. She slams it onto the desk beside Margaret's iPad. "Margaret," she orders, voice low, but cutting play the speech video. "Now." Margaret complies, opening the live broadcast from Parliament. Charles's voice fills the room, steady and authoritative, repeating the words Camilla knows by heart. She sits, comparing the paper draft to the screen. Not a word altered, not a comma out of place. Everything matches, from the opening on a turbulent world to the final decree about Catherine. Camilla sinks back into an armchair, hands limp. The truth slices like a blade through her heart. This was no aide's error, no oversight by the communications team. It was a calculated choice, fully endorsed by Charles. He chose Catherine, not her, to shape the monarchy's future. Memories flood Camilla's mind, painful years, branded as Charles and Diana's homewrecker. Sleepless nights facing vicious headlines. She fought to be accepted, to step out of history's shadow, to become a queen in deed as well as name. She hosted countless charities, stood by Charles through crises, and slowly crafted an image of strength and duty. Now it all crumbles in minutes. Catherine, the daughter-in-law Camilla once saw as an ally, now looms as a sweet threat. Never openly defiant, never challenging outright. Yet somehow, with her gentle smile and tireless devotion, Catherine has captured the public's heart and now Charles's trust. Camilla recalls Catherine's press moments, mental health campaigns, embracing children on tours. The public loves her not just as William's wife, but as a fresh, scandal-free face. Camilla rises, pacing to the fireplace. The flames crackle, but they don't warm her. "I underestimated her," she whispers, voice thick with bitterness. "I thought she was just a dutiful girl, the perfect wife for William. But she's a pawn, and Charles chose her for this game." She turns to Margaret, eyes no longer trembling, but cold as steel. "Schedule a meeting with my advisors. The moment we're back in London, I want everything on Catherine, her plans, her moves, her contacts. I won't let this end here." Margaret nods, but deep down she knows this war won't be easy. Camilla isn't just facing Catherine, she's up against Charles and the legacy he's determined to leave. 5 weeks before the seismic Ottawa speech in the gray chill of late November 2024, a clandestine meeting laid the groundwork for a royal reckoning. That moment, like a faded painting in memory, reveals the seeds of a quiet revolution Charles nurtured at Clarence House, London. The historic drawing room, dimly lit through tall windows, carries the lethargy of winter. Portraits of Queen Victoria, King George VI, and other royals watch silently from the walls, bearing witness to a pivotal moment. The scent of polished wood mingles with faint Earl Grey tea on the table, but the air is thick as if the room itself braces for what's to come. Catherine, in a simple white sweater and gray midi skirt, sits on a velvet chair across from King Charles III. Her understated elegance doesn't mask her sharp presence, her blue eyes locked in focus. Charles, face etched with strain, sits opposite, shoulders slumping under the weight of a dynasty. His tailored navy suit can't hide the deep lines on his brow marks of a life of turmoil and sleepless nights pondering his legacy. No aides, no advisors, just the two of them, and a silence that stretches like a prelude to a world-altering choice. Finally, Charles speaks, his voice low but resolute, each word chiseled from stone. "I've thought about this for over a year, Catherine," he says, eyes piercing hers, no preamble. "William is the future of the throne, but he needs time to grow into his role. As for me," he pauses, glancing at the window where bare branches sway in the cold. "I don't have time to fix past mistakes. My health, though I hate to admit it, reminds me the crown needs someone to stand between me and the public with poised devotion and wisdom. That person, Catherine, is you." Catherine sits still, hands clasped, eyes unblinking, dissecting every layer of his words. She's not surprised, perhaps she sensed it in his subtle glances at royal events, his probing questions in brief chats. But she doesn't rush to reply, letting the silence press Charles to reveal more. He leans forward, his gaze piercing her soul. "I'm not choosing you because you're William's wife," he says, voice dropping to a near whisper, as if sharing a secret only they can know. "I'm choosing you because you're the only one in this palace who doesn't crave the throne, but has the strength to hold it." Those words are not just an offer, but a silent challenge to the system he leads. Charles knows in a monarchy rife with schemes and ambitions, Catherine is a rare exception, untouched by power's allure, yet capable of shaping it with finesse and resolve. Charles rises, stepping to the fireplace where flames flicker, casting red light on his weathered face. He speaks, voice thick with nostalgia, of Queen Elizabeth II's 1957 Canada visit, when she, young and radiant, was hailed as the Commonwealth's unifying symbol. "I remember those photos," he says, voice softening, reliving the memory. "My mother stood before Ottawa's crowds, no crown, no throne yet. The world looked to her with reverence. I want that moment reborn, Catherine. The summit in Canada weeks from now will be where I announce this, a declaration that the monarchy enters a new era with you as its guide." Catherine finally speaks, her voice soft, but edged like a finely honed blade. "Sir, I understand the responsibility. I know what you expect, and I'm ready to take it on. But..." She pauses, her eyes flickering, not with fear, but with calculated awareness of inevitable fallout. "Camilla, she won't accept this." Charles turns, meeting her gaze. A sad smile crosses his face, as if he'd long anticipated the question. "Camilla is the woman I love," he says, voice heavy with tangled emotions. "She stood by me through the darkest days when the world turned its back. I'll always cherish that. But loving someone doesn't mean giving them everything. This is my legacy, Catherine, not just for me, but for William, my grandchildren, and the Commonwealth. I trust you to protect it, not by seizing the throne, but by guiding it through the storms ahead." Catherine nods, but inside a quiet tide rises. She knows this isn't just a shift in royal structure. It's a silent revolution, and Camilla won't stand idly by. As she leaves Clarence House, stepping into London's icy streets, Catherine feels the weight of duty and danger awaiting. Charles's words, like a prophecy, have sown the seeds for the storm that will erupt in Ottawa, where the monarchy's fate will be sealed. London greets Catherine with relentless drizzle and biting cold in February 2025, but she shuns celebratory galas and glowing headlines post-Ottawa. Instead, she works in the shadows, a master strategist orchestrating from behind the scenes with precision and grace. At Kensington Palace, Catherine's private office becomes her command center. Cream walls, oak bookshelves, and a tidy desk belie the frenetic pace within. The Royal Communications Office, long criticized for sluggishness and rigidity, is her first target. Within 2 weeks, she orders a sweeping overhaul. 2 senior advisors, staunch Camilla allies, tied to old-school methods, are quietly replaced. In their place, she recruits a dynamic trio, a former BBC journalist, a Silicon Valley digital media expert, and a seasoned Conservative Party political advisor. All share one trait: loyalty to Catherine and her vision of a modern, relatable monarchy. Catherine doesn't stop at personnel. She personally reviews William's tour plans, scrutinizing every detail to ensure each trip sends a clear message. The monarchy isn't just a relic, but a banner for the future. William's speeches, once ceremonial, are rewritten to emphasize tomorrow, a subtle nod to Catherine. In Glasgow, he declares, "We're building a new Britain where tradition and progress coexist, led by those who dare dream of a better tomorrow." The press quickly decodes that those means Catherine, and editorials dub her the architect of the 21st century monarchy. Meanwhile, at Highgrove House, Camilla seethes. The grand drawing room with Persian rugs and landscape paintings hosts her secret council of advisors. "I am the queen," she cries, voice echoing off the walls. "I stood by Charles through every scandal, every attack, and now I'm cast aside for a daughter-in-law." Her advisors, veteran lawyers and trusted journalists, lower their eyes, avoiding her fiery glare. Camilla threatens to withdraw from all royal duties unless her ceremonial role is restored, a move that could spark a media firestorm and fracture the monarchy's united front. But Catherine, ever astute, stays a step ahead. One morning, as Camilla prepares for another meeting, a sealed envelope bearing the royal crest arrives at Highgrove. Inside, a handwritten letter in black ink on thick paper, its elegant script sharp as a blade. It reads, "We can serve the monarchy together, or each take a role the public deems fit. I respect you, but I cannot pause because you refuse reality." Camilla's hands tremble as she reads, her eyes boring into the words as if to burn them. The letter isn't just a reply, it's a precise strike at her pride. Catherine doesn't challenge openly, needing no grand rhetoric. The message is clear: she won't yield, and Camilla no longer holds the reins. In that moment, Camilla realizes she's not facing a docile daughter-in-law, but a master strategist. Catherine needs no crown or throne to wield power. She's claimed the public's heart, Charles's trust, and now the monarchy's future. Camilla sinks into a chair, staring through the window at Highgrove's endless fields. "She's not just clever," she whispers. "She's dangerous." London's cobblestone streets glisten with drizzle. But inside Kensington Palace, Catherine's office burns with the heat of a battlefield. Just a week after Charles's bombshell Ottawa speech, a political storm brews across the Atlantic, threatening the Commonwealth's fragile unity. In a Fox News interview, Donald Trump hurls a grenade at the headlines with his signature bravado. "This royal summit in Canada is an outdated farce," he sneers, eyes boring into the camera. Canada, a strong nation, doesn't need a king or princess from England preaching sustainability or unity. It's time they stand up and ditch this charade. His words ignite a firestorm. Canada, the Commonwealth's linchpin after Britain, has long grappled with debates over the monarchy's role. Many, especially younger citizens and activists, view the crown and summits as colonial relics, irrelevant to a modern nation. Traditionalists, however, see the monarchy and Commonwealth as pillars of stability and global cooperation. Trump's opportunistic jab fuels fierce debates across forums, social media, and Canada's parliament. If Canada rejects the Commonwealth, or the monarchy nations like Australia, New Zealand, and Jamaica might follow, spelling doom for the alliance's unity and the greatest failure of Charles's reign. At Kensington, Catherine learns of Trump's remarks hours after they air. Reviewing Canada tour reports, her sapphire ring glints as she flips pages. Her private secretary, a young woman with neatly tied brown hair, briefs her, and Catherine listens, without looking up, her blue eyes narrowing as she dissects the crisis. "We can't let this narrative fester," she says, voice calm but firm. "If we don't act now, voices like Trump will steer the public. We need a bold strike, and we need it immediately." Catherine calls an emergency Zoom meeting with her international media team, linking London, Ottawa, and Sydney. The office's large screen shows tense, determined faces. "We have an opportunity," she begins, standing by her desk, hands lightly braced on its edge. We have unreleased footage from Ottawa, a moment where Charles bared his heart. It's time to release it. The video she references was captured off-script at Canada's Parliament post-speech. Charles, standing aside in the hall, spoke to a small group of Canadian community leaders. A camera caught him voice raw, with rare emotion, saying, "My love for the Commonwealth nations is eternal. I've watched Canada grow independent and proud, and I believe in the leadership of those like Catherine who bring a new Britain, one that listens and respects your sovereignty." This was a different Charles, not the stoic king, but a man of genuine feeling, entrusting the future to the next generation. Catherine orders the video edited to preserve its authenticity while highlighting Charles and her role. Within 24 hours, it's released via royal channels and sent to major outlets like BBC, CNN, and CBC. The response is electric. The clip goes viral, shared millions of times online. Editorials from Toronto to Canberra hail Catherine as the 21st century bridge, the monarchy's new torch. An Ottawa paper writes, "Princess Catherine isn't just the monarchy's face, she's the soul of a new era, a leader who listens and acts." Public sentiment shifts swiftly. Canadian polls show surging support for the monarchy and Commonwealth, especially among youth skeptical of the crown. Trump, caught off guard by Catherine's swift surgical response, drops the topic in later interviews. Analysts suggest he was outmaneuvered by a flawless media strategy. In her Kensington office, Catherine scans headlines but doesn't smile. She knows this victory is just the start, with greater battles looming. While Catherine solidifies her global influence, Camilla from her Wiltshire estate quietly plots a counterattack. The ancient manor with manicured gardens and 18th century rooms becomes her final stronghold. Pushed to the edge by Charles's Ottawa speech, in Catherine's cutting letter, Camilla is no quitter. She fought a lifetime to become queen, enduring vicious attacks as the homewrecker of Charles and Diana's marriage. She won't let her place slip without a fight. In the main drawing room, a roaring fireplace casts red light on thick rugs and dark wood walls. Camilla summons a tight circle of trusted advisors, veterans, who guided her through past media storms. On the table lies a dossier, the original Ottawa speech draft, marked in red ink alongside approval process notes. Camilla believes she holds a potent weapon by claiming the draft was unapproved, as she was told she can expose Charles and Catherine's manipulation, shaking public faith in the decision to empower Catherine. "They think I'm out of moves," she tells her team, voice like steel eyes blazing like fire. "But I'll show them I'm still queen, and no one sidelines me this easily." A press conference is planned at a discreet Wiltshire hotel, far from London's prying eyes. Camilla opts for understated elegance, a deep blue silk dress, hair neatly styled, and a calm, weighty tone. She intends to present the draft, claim Charles was swayed by those around him, and urge the public to question Catherine's role. It's a direct strike not just at Catherine, but at Charles, whom she feels betrayed her love and sacrifice over 4 decades. Yet a quiet doubt stirs within Camilla. She recalls Charles's looks of admiration, their late nights facing a hostile world together. Does she truly want to paint him as an enemy before the public, will exposing the draft destroy not just Catherine, but the legacy she and Charles built? She pushes the thoughts aside, convincing herself this is her last chance to reclaim her place. But a faint voice whispers that this war might yield not victory but deeper solitude. On the morning of the press conference, an unexpected twist unfolds. William, who rarely meddles in royal disputes, arrives unannounced at Wiltshire. A Catherine ally privy to Camilla's plans via a leak from her media team tipped him off. William, with the instincts of a future king, knows Camilla's move could unleash a media tempest, harming not just Catherine but his father's legacy. Determined to stop the crisis, he drives to Wiltshire carrying a sealed envelope with the royal crest. Camilla, reviewing her speech in the drawing room, looks up as William enters, surprise and unease flickering in her eyes. "William," she says, forcing calm, though her hand grips her notes tightly. "Why are you here?" William doesn't answer immediately. He places the envelope on the table, his gaze stern but not hostile. "You need to read this before you proceed," he says, voice low but firm. Camilla opens it, pulling out a document, a formal statement signed by Charles 3 weeks before Canada. At the bottom, his handwritten note stops her, heart approved with full awareness. "This is the monarchy I choose to leave behind." Camilla stares at Charles's signature, hands trembling. Each stroke feels like a dagger, shredding her last thread of faith. The document confirms Charles not only endorsed the speech, but planned Catherine's rise long ago. No manipulation, no secret plot. It was his choice, the man she loved, for whom she sacrificed everything now, charting a path without her. At that moment, Camilla's world collapses. She thinks of her years fighting for acceptance, standing in Charles's shadow so he could shine, dreaming of a monarchy they'd build together. Now that dream belongs to Catherine, the ally turned untouchable rival. She wants to scream, to confront William, to demand answers from Charles. But William's steady gaze, silent yet resolute, stops her. It's the look of an heir, one who knows the monarchy transcends personal battles. Camilla sinks into a chair, hands limp, the paper falling to the table. "I was wrong," she whispers, voice hoarse as if speaking to herself. "I thought I could hold on to it, but maybe I lost it long ago." She looks at William, eyes glistening but refusing to let tears fall. "Thank you, William," she says, voice trembling yet proud. "I understand, but tell Catherine, I'll never forget." The press conference was canceled hours later. Camilla withdraws from all media, declining interviews and public appearances. It's not surrender, but a painful acceptance that her fight is futile. She won't turn Charles, whom she still loves despite her broken heart, into an enemy. Nor will she destroy the monarchy she spent a lifetime defending, just to prove a point. Camilla fades into the public's view, retreating to Wiltshire, where gardens once brought solace now echo her isolation. In her heart, the betrayal isn't just Charles's, but the system she served. Yet deep down, she knows the war is over. And she, though loath to admit it, has lost to a rival she never truly understood, Catherine.